abhilashat bahirgati samvahesya. By that desire to fulfill his being, he feels there is gap, it must be filled, and by that desire bahirgati, his flow and his movement moves towards objective world and not towards subjective consciousness. Thus he is carried from one birth to another birth, from one death to another death. He is carried just like a beast. Carried by whom? Carried by those energies which have been established or governed by the supreme will of energies of God. And those are Kanchuka, 6 coverings, Kala, Vidya, Rag, Kal, Niti and Maya. Antakarna, mind, intellect and ego. Bahishkarna, organs of actions and organs of senses. And 5 tanmatras, Shabd, Sparsh, Roop, Ras and Gandh. And by these he is being carried from one state to another state, from one life to another life. From one womb he is carried to another womb by and by. Thus he is being carried. He is not carrier. In brief, he is Pashu, just like a beast, dependent upon his past and future actions. Hence, desire is mal, desire is dot, impurity. And that is Ahanamala, which has appeared by perceiving one's own self as incomplete. And when you perceive yourself incomplete, that is avidya, that is ignorance. And that ignorance is Ahanamala. And by that Ahanamala, desire rises in you. And by that desire, Bahirgati, you are carried in outside world, not internal world of spirituality. Hence, your consciousness is diverted towards worldly pleasures. Kalika Kram Shastra also says the same thing. When that ignorance covers that self by the way of treading on vikalpas, then he cannot perceive this whole universe, beginning from earth to Shiva, as one with God consciousness. He does not perceive like that. He perceives differentiatedly, in a differentiated manner. Then, what is the fruit of that? He becomes object of good and bad. And by becoming object of good and bad, he experiences in his own nature only pain. And pleasure also he experiences as pain. When, on the contrary, the grace of Lord Shiva is infused in his consciousness, Parameshi Shaktipata Vashi Ulmishitam, and by that infusion, when he contemplates and realizes his own nature in true sense, then he destroys all desires in himself, and he does not move towards outside the world. On the contrary, he is always centered in his own God consciousness. That is what he explains in next shloka. Tadarud pramites tatkhyat jiva sankhya. That fortunate person whose consciousness is established in his own real nature, all desires vanish in him. So the state of being individual is finished. As previously, in previous sutras, we have explained that state of Turiya, which is only the state of knower, not known or knowledge. Only knower, the state of knower. When the yogi, whose consciousness is established and fully aware in that supreme God consciousness, then that desire which seemed to be existing there, that desire vanishes, and Jiva Bhava, individuality, is finished. Then that state of being aware that I am Purishtaka, I am body, I am organs, I am mind, intellect and ego. that state is over. That means it is appeased, it is shant. On the contrary, his consciousness shines in Chit, in his own nature. In Kalikakram, it is said, when one is experiencing the dreaming state and he perceives so many dreams, various ways of world of dreams, when he gets out of it, when he enters in wakefulness, then those all dreams vanish altogether. No dream is existing at all. In the same way, when a fortunate yogi puts awareness in this way on this objective world of universe, that this universe is not objective world, it is only subjective consciousness, nothing else. And the more he puts awareness on subjective consciousness, he becomes one with subjective consciousness. So this imagination also becomes true for him. By and by, you put your awareness in this imagination that this whole universe is nothing but my own self, nature. Go on meditating on it in continuation, and time will come, you will become one with that God consciousness. That person who is established in his own nature always, nityam, and who is bent upon destroying the sphere of time. He wants to destroy the sphere of time by putting consciousness on the timeless point. And timeless point is found between two breaths. Timeless point is found between one step and another step, one talk and another talk, one word and another word. In between there is timeless point. When your consciousness is bent upon finding out that point, then you are said to be kalagrasa tatpar. You are bent upon destroying the sphere of time. So in near future there will be no time existing for you. So that yogi is established in that final beatitude of God consciousness, and he achieves that state of nirvana, moksha, final liberation. But the question is here, when this way his individuality is destroyed, individuality is dissolved, he must leave the physical body at that very moment, as soon as that individuality is finished. So how can we say that he is established in God consciousness? So this theory of yours is incorrect. For that he puts now answer. Bhuta kanchaki tada vimukto bhuya pati samapara. He is said to be Bhuta kanchaki. These five elements are just like covering for him. And at that moment he is vimukta, absolutely liberated. And he is Patisama, just like Lord Shiva and supreme. And in course of time, when he leaves this physical frame also, he becomes one with Lord Shiva. So for him, this physical frame is just like a blanket, just like some covering, not like us, just as we do for our physical body. We insert I consciousness in that this is my body, this is me. I go to some doctor, please see my pulse, but I have no pulse. In fact, if you go in true sense, I have no pulse. Pulse is for body. I say to doctor, I see my pulse, I don't feel well, but body is unwell. I am always same. So this previous sutra, in which we explained his body is just like that sheath in which we put sword, like that his body exists. But he does not infuse his I consciousness in that sheath. Sword is sword and sheath is sheath, separate from it. Hence, when Supreme Master reveals you that supreme thing, from that very moment he is said to be liberated, absolutely liberated. And his remaining portion of his life is just like yantra, just like a machine. So he is centralized in his God consciousness for eternity afterwards. And his existence of body is just like a machine, nothing else. So what can we say to that wise person who is established that Supreme Brahman only for 1 second? He becomes liberated and he liberates the whole universe. In Netra Tantra also it is said, if one realizes the state of Supreme God consciousness only for the fraction of time of Nimesh Unmesh, 1 twinkling, eyes open and shut, that is twinkling. Only in that fraction of time, if you realize that real state of God consciousness, from that very moment he is said to be liberated, absolutely liberated. He is not to come in this world again. In Kulasar Shastra also it is said, O dear Devi, Sundari, O beautiful goddess, Devi. It is wonder how great is the glory and greatness of that real nature of God consciousness. If that real nature of God consciousness travels from one air to another air, in sound only, not in actual existence, if that word only travels, that word will absolutely liberate him there and then. This is the greatness of that supreme state of God consciousness.